Hey y'all, Troy Brown here. You are tuning in to the Music Business Game Plan. I am the managing partner of Big Timber Entertainment, and with me, as always, is my partner. And it's not appropriate, Mark, to say partner in crime as we're in business together, but when the business goes away and the office is closed, my partner in crime, Mark Oliverius. Mark, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, partner. How are you, Troy?
I am doing so well. We've got snow coming in here tonight. We've got a snowstorm coming in on Saturday, and all the snowmobilers, skiers, the bars that the snowmobile trails are on are all going to be happy once we get through Saturday, brothers. So anyway, it's great to see you. I've had separation anxiety. We were together all week last week, and
Right.
back here, so little separation anxiety, but I'm getting over it. I started to sleep again last night.
Well, what a guest we have tonight here.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure to talk to Doug before we came on the live stream here, and Mark, as always, introduce our very special guest tonight.
Well, this fine gentleman is one of the best keyboard players and singers in town. He's again, we go back to the Nashville, the level of talent and the level of excellence in this city. And Doug Carter is right there at raises the bar all the time. And yeah, Doug, it's great to have you on, my friend. How are you doing
thanks.
tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you guys so much for asking me to be a part of this. I've been looking forward to it since you called me.
Doug, and we already have a hello here from Isabella Stevens. So hi, Doug Carter.
All right.
It's fun. Doug, this is the thing I forgot to tell you is that while we do our live streams, we give shout outs to our watchers, whoever. I do know we have some shy ones out there because they've told me, oh, I wanted to ask a question. Oh, I don't want you to call me out. And I'm like, hey, ask the question. Everyone will have some fun here.
Nice.
And so anyway.
Well, Bella's watching us from University of Chattanooga down there, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga.
UT Chattanooga.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go Mocs.
Go Mocs. That's it.
That's cool. Doug, you're from Paducah, Kentucky.
Born and raised. Yes, sir.
I've been there.
Have you?
Yes, I have. Well, I do have Kentucky roots. My grandpa moved to Wisconsin from Moorhead, Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Opposite side of the state. But yeah, I am from, my roots are from Kentucky. So yeah,
Nice.
I love Paducah. Yeah. The river, I've been to, there was a brew pub that I've been to, and it's a beautiful city.
Paducah's cool. Yeah, it's really cool. When you said down by the river, you know, there's a flood wall there, and each panel of the flood wall has some beautiful artwork on it that they commissioned several years ago. And just there's some brick streets down there, and it's a cool, quaint place. But my sights were definitely elsewhere, so I left Paducah about 11 seconds after I turned 18.
Yeah, well, I think that's common when you grow up in an area.
Yeah,
it gets to be time to move on. So I think I read in a bio that you had written on your website that you actually started in the really interested in music around 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, it's funny. I would hear things, and I would sing the harmonies to them, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I would just kind of hum the harmonies. And some friends of my mom said, you know, that's a little young to, I think, be doing that. Maybe you should check into getting him some lessons or something and see what's behind all that. So I don't know that we still know what's behind all that, but I did get some lessons.
And then the piano showed up in the garage in
the garage. Yeah, I was lived in a trailer when I was a kid, and we had a garage, a detached garage, and so my mother had found this upright piano that was an old player piano. It didn't play electronically anymore, but they bought it, and it didn't fit in the house, didn't fit in the trailer, so it went in the garage. And it was summertime, and I was out there hammering away at this thing and learning the instrument and trying to not get heat stroke. And so I guess after I'd shown my mom that I was going to stick with it, bought one that actually fit in the house, and I was able to practice in some air conditioning finally.
Yeah, that's a great story. I loved it. I was going through. I was actually reading the bio on my phone there, and I was through. And I'm like, that's too fun. So, music's always been in your blood.
Yeah, it really has. My grandfather on my mother's side, he was a real big part of the bluegrass scene in the Appalachian Mountains,
Cool.
Early radio days and such. And so I think that's probably where it came from for me. But yeah, really early on, I was always interested and started taking piano lessons when I was about 6 or 7. And that first teacher, I really credit her, Linda Lee, with the way that she taught me. She taught me chords right out of the gate, so I could make
Right.
something musical. Make a major chord, a minor chord, and then I could sort of noodle around with melodies, things like that. But I could actually have something musical right out of the gate, and I feel like that kept me engaged in those early days.
Yeah.
How many times did you quit, Doug?
Oh my gosh! Well, I tell a story that I think I was in junior high, maybe. Several schools in that area went to Murray State University for a day, and we would learn all these things. I think it's called an all-district choir thing or something. We would learn several songs during the day, and then that evening we'd give a performance. And it was just a few students from each school in the district. And over a lunch break, I had come back from lunch and gotten there before the afternoon session, and I sat down at the piano and was noodling on something that was, I'm sure, on the radio at the time. And I looked up, and there were this grand piano, big 9-foot grand. There were girls standing all around this piano, and I thought, I'm never going to stop doing this. It's the only way I can
Every
get this
guy's
kind of
dream.
attention. Yeah, from the opposite sex, no way will I ever stop doing this. So I might have quit several times before then, but that was pretty much the thing that kept me going there.
I just
Come on
remember
around,
those
ladies.
piano.
Yeah, come on
those,
around, ladies. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very powerful.
those
That's
piano
fun.
lessons. I'd take them, and then I'd learn Bill Withers, and I'd go back to them, and I'd you just learn those. That's so important. The teaching, not just the rote and not just the reading, but the ear training and how to grab songs off the radio and how to understand, that not so you're not just reading notes, you're interpreting off of the radio or off of records, and that's, to me, the combination of those two is the best way to get underneath the hood.
Well, I think you're right. Mark, one that this makes me think of is early on, and I remember it vividly. I was sitting in the music room, the band room at my elementary school, Farley Elementary School in Paducah, Kentucky. And I had a piece of sheet music for a song that was on the radio. And I can't remember the song, but I remember the experience really, really vividly. I'd heard this on the radio. And, when you do have an ear, you hear things differently, I think, music. And so I'm playing the sheet music that's supposed to, in my opinion, be showing me how to play this song that I heard on the radio. But the chords aren't right. This chord on measure 3 on the radio, maybe it had a 2 in it, and on the sheet music it doesn't. And maybe down here there's a a C chord over an E in the bass, and the sheet music didn't reflect that. And it was very frustrating, and I was so young that I couldn't really understand why it was frustrating me and what was missing. But now looking back, it was definitely that the sheet music didn't match the record.
Yeah.
And so what it ended up doing is I didn't develop my sight reading. I let my ear do it, because that's what got me to the sound that I heard on the record.
Right.
And so even to this day, if there's a gig that I've got that's a lot of reading, I'm definitely going to be in the woodshed for a while.
Wow. Well, that's, the whole reading thing is, I don't know, back in the days, you took piano lessons and you went through the Sham. I mean, I went through the Sham's books and everything, and like I said, I quit several times, but we had a player piano down in the basement. The same thing, a big heavy monster that you learned. I learned the basics there, and you did. I mean, I remember we did the Opry with Lori Morgan years ago, and you were on with Greenwood, and I had toured in the past. We opened up for Lee on a bunch of dates. I was with this Cajun, Joel Saunier.
Oh yeah,
and crazy band. We had a great band, and so did Lee. Of course, he always did. And got to know Mandel and those boys, and Chuck and the guys and John Howard. But I remember then the iteration of that band. I saw you were at the Opry, and man, he always had a keyboard player that could sing his tail off. And I was listening to you, and it's like, wow, Doug you were so strong, not just the playing, but those vocals. And you're covering a lot of ground with these outside projects now.
Oh gosh, yeah. I have a tendency to get in a little too deep, but I love it. Even to this day, I'm 51 years old. I've been touring my entire adult life, almost without pause, and I love it. I'm built for it, I guess. I sleep well on the bus, where some people don't. The travel aspect of it is always fun, and obviously it makes a difference if you've got a bunch of people around you that are fun to be around. That's been spoken about, I'm sure, so many times. But luckily we also have a great group of folks in every situation that I'm involved with that makes it fun. And on the road it can be everything is sort of amplified. If it's bad, it's like, well, it's really bad. But if it's good, it's really, really good. And to be out there with a guy like Greenwood, he's there with you. If it's a 3 a.m. lobby call, he's there. He's in coach with us. If wherever the trenches are, he's there. And he's usually first to show up and is the one telling, everybody, man, thank you guys for being here. Let's go get it today. It's amazing. Just amazing.
3M lobby calls with musicians. That's got to be interesting.
That's called an all-nighter, is what that's called.
Yeah, Mark, we've seen a few of them, haven't we?
And we have. That's there's no time to wind down. You're just kind of running on. You're coming off the show and everybody's amped, and you have a couple of beers and you're still amped, and then, okay, I'm going to try to go get 2 hours sleep so I can wake. No, that doesn't really work, does it?
Just stay up, eh?
Yeah.
Just stay up. Yeah. You're not going to miss your alarm that way.
So what about the vocals on this, Doug? I mean, we're on the Greenwood dates. You're singing above Lee. Is that what you're handling, the highs?
Only on a couple of the tunes. Dave Smith, who you had on recently on the podcast, he's got that high thing that he's a head voice over Lee, because Lee's in the stratosphere.
I know he is.
So luckily, I get the low part. Then I can just bring that low harmony blend in and try to keep it together there.
Yeah.
But I was in my mid-20s. I'd moved to Nashville in '98. I'd been in the Carolinas with some different gospel acts. And I'll tell you this, as far as the harmonies go and stuff, I feel like cutting my teeth on that 4-part harmony and stuff. It just gave me such a great study in vocals. And I'm talking like from famed producers, guys like Larry Goss, vocal arrangers and stuff.
Right.
Being able to take those things and really break them down and learn those tunes, I feel like just gave me such an edge in hearing harmonies and structuring them and understanding, how they're structured and why. And so moving to Nashville in '98, I'd worked with a few different artists, and I was waiting tables like a lot of folks do when they come to town. And the artists I was working with were fantastic artists, but none of them were busy enough that I could leave the server job, And so spring of 2001, I'm working with a new artist on Sony named Tammy Cochran. Fantastic.
Yeah,
singer.
I worked with Tammy. That's awesome.
Did you? That's fantastic. Yeah. Angels in Waiting. What a song. And so her career was really looking like it was going to skyrocket. And folks with Sony, it was her label, they were out with us on the road, and it really looked like that this one was gonna be the deal. And so a lot of young musicians, when you come to town, you do like to find maybe like a young artist and take that ride with them, you know, the way the Cats have done with Aldine, and you know, and so many other examples of that. So in one of the artists I had worked with before was Pam Tillis. I think everybody has worked with Pam at one time or another. And John Conley was the guitar player, not the artist singer John Conley, but the guitar player who's now out with Kenny Chesney, has been for years. He was on those dates, and not long after those, he did some shows with Lee Greenwood, and Lee's band leader at the time said, you know, we need a keyboard player. Do you know of anybody? And he said, man, this guy was on the Tillis gig. He is absolutely suited. It's like, you know, you can hear David Foster in him. You can hear all this stuff. And so Eric called and said, hey, you want to do some Lee shows? And I said, you know, honestly, I don't think so. You know, Lee was definitely, I admired him and loved his catalog, of course, but I really had my sights set on Tammy and this new artist thing. And so he said, well, you know what, there's not a lot of work on the books, about a show a month average. And if you can't make one, you can sub it. And so, you know, that's no risk at all. And I thought, well, I'll just add that to the things that I'm doing, I guess. And sure. So I said, sure. And so this was in like July of 2001. He didn't have any shows in August, but he had two in September. So my start date was supposed to be September 13th, 2001. And 9/11 happened. And the 13th was a Knoxville, Tennessee, the state fair. And it got canceled. And our show the next night was in Michigan, at a theater in casino, in Michigan, the 14th. And one show a month turned into being gone for about a year and a half. And I'm, 24 years later, I'm so glad I said yes to doing that.
Yeah. Which casino was that in Michigan? Do you remember?
Oh Lord, I wish I could remember. I have no idea.
In the upper peninsula or lower?
I think Michigan? So. Yeah, it wasn't in the far UP, but I think it was a little bit further north. Yeah, not Fond du Lac or anything like that. Or that's in Wisconsin, isn't it? Yeah, I wish I could remember.
Maybe it was the Island Mark.
Could have been, huh?
Yeah, it could have been.
Could have been.
Yeah. I may have seen the. When you walk into the Island, they've got all the shows and autographs and everything. So that's kind of cool. So, but Doug, you've been the show director, music director for a long time. Why don't you kind of take us through that? What's a day in the life? When you're the music director.
Yeah. When I was hired, the acoustic guitar player was the MD, the band leader, and a couple of years in, he left to do a solo thing, and Lee asked if I would take that on, and very happily I said yeah. And what's great about the players that we've always been able to get with Lee, I liken it to like coaching an NFL team. I don't have to tell those guys anything. I'm not coaching anybody. I'm not teaching anybody anything. We've got wonderful players out there. So for my role into that is to if Lee's cutting an album, or if we're going to put something new in the show or whatever, I'll make sure that the chart and any kind of a live recording that I can have for the guys is in the Dropbox so that they can access that. We may get together and rehearse at a space here in town, or just do an extended sound check, depending on how much material there is to add. But then once that's stage ready, those guys are so good, I can just sort of sit back and enjoy that. As arrangements change over the years, an artist will say, well, I know you recorded it like this. I'd really like to kind of change this or do that. You just sort of make sure that any player that comes in, knows the current state of the song. And beyond that, just let everybody do their job. Let everybody be great players, and singers. Lee will sometimes, want to get together. I've been really fortunate in this time to have also done things like, commercial jingles. And we did wrote a song together that was in a motion picture back in 2006. And so being able to be added into those things, I produced a pop standards album for Sony, for him. so much fun. So many just different side projects in addition to the gig, you know.
Yeah. So for everyone watching, when you do a motion picture gig, that's a sync, what we call it in the business, a sync.
Mm-hmm.
So in that instance, then, Doug, were you contracted to actually to do that solely for that movie, or was it something that you had written previously that the movie liked? How did that work? How does it work?
Funny how it came about. You know, it's in our business, it's always, you know, a friend of a friend or somebody you know or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the gospel days in the Carolinas, I toured with a guy from Chicago, and he had moved back to Chicago after that time was up, and he had fallen in with some folks up there in the acting community and the filmmaking community, and had landed. They had landed his script. They had written it, and he was actually the producer of the film. And he said, you know, I know how much you love John Williams and John Barry and all, you know, film scores and all this stuff. We've got an indie flick. Would you want to score it? And I said, absolutely. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
do you know how to do it? You know, the technology, the software, the old. I said, yeah, of course I do. He said, okay, well, as we move forward, I'll keep you in the loop. And so I basically hung up and started calling people going, how do I score a movie? I just, you know, I think I heard
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Just leave it to me. I got it. So then I just started, you know, picking everybody's brain. And I hadn't even touched computer-based recording up until this point. And I went and got the whole deal, got software libraries, orchestra libraries, percussive library, the whole deal. And I actually partnered with a guy from, he was going to school at MTSU here in Murfreesboro for the recording program. And I said, look, I need you to engineer this for me. I had a back end deal with the movie to whereas if it got picked up and distributed, we'd all make a good amount of money. If it didn't, it was a labor of love. And so I sold it to him the same way. I said, if I get paid, you'll get paid. But if I don't, nobody is. And he agreed. And I had him come to my place and engineer me putting this stuff down until I watched him long enough and got the hang of how to do it. And when it became quicker for me to do it myself, that's when I said, man, thanks for everything. I will keep you in the loop if anything, if this thing gets picked up or whatever. And you know, long story short, it didn't. But my gosh, there were 19 cues, music cues in the film. I loved every minute of it. And Lee had come to me and he's like, you know, you want to write a song for this movie? And I said, sure, you know, and so we did. And what's crazy is that I had an idea that the song that he and I wrote, and he sang it and recorded it, it's on his pop album. I thought that'll be the end credits scene. And I had scored this great piece for this montage in the film. And it just so happened that my piece that I scored was within like 2 seconds of the running length of the song that Lee and I did. And they cut my piece and put the song in that spot of the movie. And that was my favorite piece of everything I scored in the whole film. And it got tanked for our song with Lee. But yeah, that's how that came about though.
Yeah. That's a great story. That is so cool. So, by the way, Doug, I'm really digging your shirt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I saw this and I thought, you know, this would be good on a podcast. You know?
It looks, I got to tell you, so you talked briefly about David Foster, you know, I mean, Foster, those inversions, those thirds, putting those thirds in placing those thirds, that's the key to, of course, he's brilliant, obviously beyond belief, but the placement of those thirds in the low end is what does it for him, isn't it? One of them. One of the secrets.
It's one of the secrets. You're right. Funny, quick story. A couple of years ago, Lee was asked to do an event in Kansas City. I think it was a benefit event, but Foster and his band was there. You got John Robinson on drums, Nathan East on bass. You know, the whole cast of guys, and a good buddy of mine, Bo Cooper. Do you know Bo?
Where do I know? Yeah, it's Bo from
keyboard player.
Yeah, okay. Was he from Kentucky?
Bo, when I moved to town, he toured with Michael English, and Susan Ashton. And I met him. I was a huge Michael fan. Grew up just
Right.
so much English. So I met Bo, told him, hey, I'm moving to Nashville. I'd love to play for Michael. It's like a bucket list dream, you know, one day. He was so cool. He's like, that's awesome, man. That's awesome you're a fan, because I'm also a fan. Hit me up when you come to town. I came to town and I hit him up. We had lunch. He goes, look, here's the deal. I'm juggling Susan Ashton and Michael English, and I need another guy to do the one that I can't do at any given time. So right when I got to town, I got work playing for both of those artists. And Bo has gone on to now he's David Foster's MD.
Okay.
He's second keys on all that stuff out there, and he's tremendous player. Oh my gosh, singer and friend. So a couple of years ago, Lee says, hey, I need you to get some stuff to David Foster. And he wants to do God Bless the USA at this event. And I said, okay, cool. Well, Bo messages me right after that, and we start talking about what he needs. I send him links to everything that he's asked for. And we chat, we catch up a little bit in the call. And a little while later, I'm in my hotel room. I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize. And I go to hit the button, the green button, to answer it, and then the button to the left to put it on speaker. And I didn't hit the answer button. So what I ended up was going to the left, and I hit decline, and I didn't mean to. So I called the number back, and picks up, and he goes, this is David Foster. And I thought, oh my God, I'm on the phone with David Foster. And so I told him who I was, and he immediately, lights into the need. Hey, this is thanks for calling me back. I need this and this and this for this thing with Lee Greenwood, and so I let him talk. And then I said, I'm good friends with Bo, and I spoke with Bo right before you called, and I think I've gotten him all the material that he needs. But if there's anything else you don't have that you need, just obviously let me know, and I'll be happy to get that to you. And he goes, oh wait, so you've already talked to Bo, and he already has all the material? I said, yes, he does. And he goes, well, I'm so sorry I wasted your time. And I thought, boy, you did not waste my time. I got to sit here and have a phone conversation with David Foster. That's fantastic.
What a force of nature. My
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Doug, you use the term, and a lot of people watching this, MD, and y'all, it's not medical doctor, it's music director.
Correct. It is not medical doctor.
It might be a hobby, but it's
right.
Right. So y'all, I'm in this room right now with two of the best music directors in country music right now, Doug Carter, Mark Oliverius. And I think it would be for you guys to talk about what the responsibilities of a music director is when you're out with Lee or in Mark, when you're with Lori or when you were with Lori, and I think our viewers would really like that. What are the responsibilities? So go ahead, fellas. I'm not even going to lead in here.
Yeah, Mark, I'd love to hear what you've got to say about that.
Well, first and foremost, it's just know every inch of every tune, and just, I mean, I always, basically, I will never push anybody harder than I push myself ever, and so my thing is always just, if you're running a section of a song 100 times, just to get it, just to try different versions of it or variations, follow the record, play the record. But then with me, I try to, like you said, Doug, you don't have to tell the guys anything. The guys are strong. They're super strong players and gals. And so there's nothing to be, you don't have to, you go there, you show up, you know every nuance of that track, of every song. And that's to me, the prep for it. And obviously in the vocals and stuff, and creating an atmosphere of looseness, not tense and tight. To me, hit records are made out of being loose whether it's in the studio or on stage. That's the way I approach it. Make sure everybody's having a good time. You understand, you appreciate and respect their abilities, and they know that think that world of them, and you're fired up, and you just light a fire under everybody. That's kind of how I approach it.
No, you're exactly right, and I echo that tremendously. A lot of times we will even record shows and have a little listening party on afterwards, to just give it a listen collectively. And I tell you, I learn as much about what I can do better as I do what any other guy on stage may or may not be able to do better. But and Lee is the kind of guy that he's a musician way before he's an artist. And so he loves to change things up. And so he'll come to me and be like, hey, let's put a thing in this tune that, maybe either put a solo section in that wasn't there before, or maybe let's do a mod that wasn't there on the record or whatever. And so we'll sort of just get on stage together and collaborate with that till it sounds like he's hearing and wants to hear. And it'll fall on the MD's, shoulders to make sure that everyone understands the task and what Lee wants to hear. So that's, to me, the biggest thing over just being a band member for being the MD is just making sure that every song is coming off the way it needs to for the artist.
Yeah. That's cool. It's fascinating to us lay people, to listen to you pros. You talk about it like, it's old hat, and it's actually kind of fun. And I've been to enough shows where I kind of watch, who the show director is, and you end up watching them, and while all this is going on, and it's really fun. So thanks for sharing, fellas.
Oh, of course. And I'll tell you a caveat to that is we'll do a handful of orchestra shows every year with Lee, and those are so much fun. They are so much fun. And I always make sure we've got, I'm wearing AirPods right now, but we wear in-ear monitors and stuff. And I always make sure that I've got mine cracked when we do those orchestra dates so I can hear everything around me.
Right.
And a lot of times it falls to the MD rather than the conductor to make certain decisions, even during the show. If there's a slow song that comes to a retardando ending, maybe it's my body language that controls that tempo as we come to the last note. And so for an orchestra full of people that are used to the conductor being the person that does that, having to shift their attention over to the MD of a band is always kind of fun to watch. And the other thing that's fun for me to watch in those particular settings is Lee is a world-class saxophone player. Can just hold his own with anybody in any situation, improv, you name it. And so I always love watching him pull out the sax when we do these orchestra dates, because I'll particularly look at the woodwinds or the saxes, and there's a little bit of like a,
right.
They'll kind of nudge their buddy like, oh boy, and then when he actually puts it, to his mouth and plays it, to see the reaction after that, all the eye rolling stops.
Oh, he's stout. He is a super. I remember back in, first time we worked with him, I think I was with Sawyer Brown back in the days,
wow.
and Greenwood was just, man, he was ferocious on that thing, and he played great keys. I loved his keyboard playing too, nice and solid keyboards. And I threw a couple of elbows in the basketball games, but
we all do, Mark. Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
Toby Keith, man, he threw some. Toby Keith threw his share too.
Yeah, those guys are they're competitive, man.
Hey, Mark, Mary's on watching us. If you want to give a shout out to Mary. Hey, Mary
Newland, how are you, young lady? It's good to hear from you. I hope all is well.
Mary's got a question here. Doug, do you ever spontaneously change a song at a concert, like extend the music, which I'd love to hear? So Mary, that's great to hear that.
Oh, that is a great question. Yes. And the answer is yes. And Mark, as you well know, for instance, when an artist is coming on stage, you're playing them on, and your intro of the song could extend depending on how long it takes them to get to the mic and begin to sing the verse. And so that's definitely a heads up sort of moment every night. Lee in particular has a couple of songs that we do live that are higher in key than the record was. Which, he's already in the clouds, but
right.
And then one night he comes to me and he goes, "Hey, in IOU, right before the second verse, I want to mod a whole step." So I go, "Okay." He goes, "Just give me a new 4/5 for a whole measure, and we'll be there." So for you listening that may not understand that, we play by number charts, and I'll just give you a quick example of sort of what some of our homework looks like right there. And those numbers all represent chords and measures. And so a 4/5 is just a chord that sets up the next section. And so when he says, "Just give me a new 4/5 in A and for a measure, and we'll be off," it's like shorthand for musicians. That's all we had to say about it. And then you can just turn around and tell the band the same thing. And so we are ready for that. And one night he forgets, and he sings he sings the pickup lyric into the second verse over what was about to be that new 4/5 chord, that setup chord. So, and I've got about in the tempo of the song, I'll tap out the tempo. He's got the pickup to the verse is this right here: 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm amazed, and that's your downbeat right there. So I've got
a
quarter
millisecond.
note.
Yeah, you got a quarter.
I got a quarter note, and maybe a little more if I hear him take a deep breath to set that verse up, to know either we're modding or we're not. And so for 2 or 3 times he kept forgetting, and he came on the bus one night. He goes, "I swear if I forget again, I'm giving each one of you $20." And he forgot that night. And as soon as we all got on the bus and left, he came out and he whipped out $20 and put it in everybody's hand. So we always gave him grief about it. And so anybody that comes to play that's new, or just last weekend we had a substitute bass player for the run, Vale Johnson, and I said, just look at me, and I'll either say yes or no. And so every night there's an audible. He's sort of settled into the not modding here recently, not doing the modulation. But yes, there are audibles every single night. The top of God Bless the USA, we'll sort of play the intro of that while he speaks and things like that. None of our show is on playback, which for those that may not be familiar with that, some artists and bands have some playback track that play along with the band. There might be, let's say there's 5 keyboard parts on a record. I'm only playing 1 or 2 live. The other 3 might be on playback. There's no playback of any kind with Lee's show. Never has been. So we can do anything we want to. We just need to know where he wants to go.
That's awesome.
We spoke about those intros. So we were doing with Lori Morgan, we were doing Riverfront during Fanfare, during CMA Fest. And, they got 2 stages going, flip the stages at all times. Lori's up at the top at the top, Doug. You know how?
Oh yeah, the bleachers.
Yeah. Well, she's like, yeah, she's in that building on the top of the way up the ramp, and she's getting ready. This newscaster this gal gets all excited, comes up, Lori Morgan. We go into Watch Me. We start the vamp on Watch Me, which was supposed to be about 20 seconds. That ended up being a 10-minute vamp of a bunch of solos. And, it's like just everybody take a ride, and oh, Lord. And finally she gets down and we go into the song. But yeah.
That's great. That's great.
So, fellas, we have another question here. Is it the fans being exciting and cheering loudly that gets you changing things up, like extending the song?
Well, definitely the fans cheering loudly and being energetic, it certainly transforms the entire show. The artists and the musicians too. And we love that instant feeling gratification of the excitement when you're got the room rocking. So it'll transform the entire show. And yeah, you may find that if the artist is again comfortable enough to do this on a whim and turn around and hand some solos out and extend the song and but yes, absolutely, the fans do make a huge difference in the show.
Doug, I read your blog that you and I'm going to butcher the title of it, but the gist of it is that music is a business and your music is the product. Want to elaborate on that just a little bit for everyone? We're switching gears here, y'all.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah. I like it. No. Yeah. Each one of us, Mark, me, and the other guys out here, guys and gals doing what we do, that music is our business, and our music, it's the one product that we have, that we can serve to whoever might pay us to do what we do. And in that regard, you just like you said earlier, Mark, you never ask anyone to do anything that you're not prepared to do. You're never harder on anyone than you are yourself. Totally agree with you. You cannot be good enough that you can say, okay, I'm there. I don't ever have to work at this again. And so if you're going to do this on a professional level, you have to think about it that way. We're out here and we're having fun and we're playing music and we're cutting up with our buddies. And in some regards, it's pretty easy at this point in the game when you've been out here doing it a long time. But the minute that you let your guard down, or you don't put in the time, your artist is going to say, I want to do something, and you're not prepared, or you can't you can't risk a move like that. So that music, our music, what we give is our product, and that's how we have to run our business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is a very unique business, and where some of the other people that we've talked to are, the show is that's the fun part. Music directors, y'all may think a little bit different, but the work really is in the prep, isn't it? I think you've alluded to that, Doug. The work is really in the prep, and
it really is.
So yeah, maybe elaborate on that a little bit more. That's where you earn. That's where the money's earned. You get paid after the show, right? But
yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, I go back to another friend of mine that was talking about how he negotiates money for a job. He said, I negotiate like a bulldog and get everything that I can out of each thing, because I know that when I get there, if I say yes to it, when I get there, I'm going to give it everything I've got. I'm not going to go, well, I wanted X amount of dollars to do this and I'm only getting this, so I'm only going to give them, 75%. It just doesn't work that way. We show up and we do our job and we play music with other musicians. We give it everything we've got.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, that's why I try to give it everything I've got to negotiate what I'm going to get for being there. Because I don't want to walk away going, I gave them everything that I had, poured myself out, and I didn't get what I feel like I wanted out of that monetarily. So I definitely live by those words so many times.
Yeah. I was being in the business. I ended up being gifted so many books on music, and I read them all. I love them. And one of my one of the things I remember most, and I'm an old rocker, Doug, and AC/DC. I read a book on the Young Brothers. What businessmen! They tremendous businessmen, and they had a brother behind the scenes too, helping them out.
Yes.
And they would play a show, and it didn't matter. And this was before we'd ever heard of them in the U.S. And they didn't care if there were 10 people, 100 people, or playing a sold out stadium. They talked about it was one fan at a time, 10 fans at a time, 100 fans at a time. And they really just, they worked their butts off to build this fan base. One of the things that they stayed true to was staying in their lane. They never ventured outside of, they never tried to mainstream anything. They knew where their fan base was in picking that up. And I think that that's so important when you talk about brands. There's only going to be, and Mark and I, we've exhausted this actually talking about the Beatles. They were so unique in how they transformed from, their stuff in 62, 63, and 64 to once they got into 66, 67. But they were just in another stratosphere. And
all their own.
And I think who all you Doug and Mark, who you've worked with, I think it's very admirable how they've really stayed in their lanes. They know where the fan base is. They've stayed in their lane. This is what they do. And they're very, very loyal to that fan base, the same way like I was describing AC/DC. I think that's fantastic business strategy. And I think it's sustainable. You guys agree? Is that a sustainable business model in the music industry?
Oh, tremendously. Yeah. I mean, when you take those years to establish your lane and find where it is, and the 10 fans become 100 and 100 become 1,000, and that continues to grow and you have success, then absolutely, that's used. Keep giving them what they're here to hear. I was thinking a lot about this earlier today. Lee Greenwood came along, I think luckily for him, at a time when guys like Millsap and Kenny Rogers and stuff were doing some edgier sounding things. Because, Lee's got hits like Touch and Go Crazy, and he definitely has so many pop and jazz and R&B influences from his years in Vegas, before he even got to Nashville. And so it really allowed him to either write or choose songs that really spoke to his heart, his background, and for country to have an audience there because of the kind of records that were sort of starting to be made in the early 80s, for him to sing what he wanted to sing.
And they always come back, Doug. I mean, the whole thing about the fans, the country fans, and I think any fans who are dedicated, you can build a circuit around those fans, and whether maybe you miss them for a year, but they'll be back on that every second year, even once. I mean, lots of acts do the same venues year after year. You change it up a little bit, give them something new, but you bring it to me again. I always talk about bringing those fans into your living room and creating an experience for them where they emotionally bond to, you emotionally, everybody in that same room has got an emotional bond from that music and from being fearless on stage, and they will come back and support time after time. And we feed off each other, Doug. I think you'll probably agree with that. The fans feed off the band, and the artist feeds off the crowd, who feeds off the band and the artist, and it's just a circle, and
you said it, Mark. Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Mark. As I'm sure you do too. I mean, there are people that I'm connected with on social media, that are fans, and I only know them because they're fans. But you get to know folks over the years when you return to that venue every year, like you mentioned. And so it builds a bigger sense of connection. You share, now you're all of a sudden you're sharing a happy birthday with this person that you wouldn't know if they didn't, come to these shows year after year. And I think country music as a whole definitely does that connection, connects with fans like that in a way that no other genre does. I mean, you go all the way back to when they called it fanfare, and every year you could come to Nashville and meet the biggest country celebrities on the planet, shake their hands, have them sign something, take a picture with them. And that accessibility builds strong fan base.
Right.
Very, very dedicated fans. And I've had people, I had people that saw that I was going to, go sub a few dates with the Oak Ridge Boys, and they went to those shows, because they knew me from Lee or whatever. But and I would think that they would go see an Oak show anyway. But they were there because it's awesome that you're getting to do this. Just you don't have a connection with a fan base. I don't feel like in any other genre.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We have another question here. Jody Underwood. Hi, Doug.
Jody's he's my business partner with my 80s band, Mixtape 80s Tribute Band.
Outstanding.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And Jody says, what's your favorite decade of music and why?
I wonder what it is here.
Jody's he just completed the self-promotion program at no, it's absolutely well, I'm a product of the 80s. I was born in the 70s and product of the 80s, so my headspace is always even country music. I mean, Paducah, Kentucky, I guess wasn't too far from Nashville that we couldn't pick up the Jerry House show in the mornings out of Nashville, and or maybe it was syndicated. But I mean, there was always country music playing in the house. And of course, the 80s. I'm in junior high and high school, so all the MTV era stuff was all we listened to. But when I first moved to Nashville, I had gotten a gig. Just an in-town thing. And I didn't really know how much of this material I would know. And I was surprised at how much I did know. And in thinking about it, it's because it was just always on at the house growing up. And I think just osmosis, it just seeped in, and it was just swimming around up there. And so many of these songs were so familiar to me by hits from the 80s and 90s, country stuff.
Doug, the Paducah played the executive end many times.
Oh yeah.
Started with Gilly in '84. We went in there in '84. That was one of the first dates I did with him. And
one of the lowest ceilings of any venue you've ever played.
It's a low ceiling, but but there's the river and there's the water. I loved Paducah. I walked that town from end to end many times.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah.
So the 80s, what's some of your favorite, mixtape, what's your opener for mixtape?
Well, currently this year we're doing our 2025 Rockin' America tour. And so our opening tune for this one is Night Rangers, You Can Still Rockin' America.
Nice.
Last year we had our Boombox Era tour, and the autograph song Turn Up the Radio was that opener for that tour. And so we're just getting our new tour underway this year. So yeah.
How much of that are you singing?
About half of it. Jody and I are the co-front singers, and about half of it. And I tell you, really got to be careful. Some of those tunes, some of the ones I cover, like She's a Beauty, The Tubes, Take Me Home Tonight. I mean, they're high. Lord, they're high.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, Jody and I, we both handle that just about 50-50. Maybe him a little bit more.
We had Lee Shapiro on the show a month and a half or so ago. It was awesome, and Doug, you and I mean, we've gotten to know each other better through the subbing for the Hitmen of Country, which is one of your shows. And of course, Lee kind of books it out of New York and Jersey, and it was what a history he has, and it was a pleasure having him on the show.
Oh man, he's so incredible just to hear some of the stuff that he was a part of, and that Hitman of Country is really a cool show. And it's funny. I was talking to somebody about that show, and they asked, what's it like, and I told them, and they said, well, it's kind of like a podcast on stage, huh? And I thought, man, I've never thought about that. But yes, it kind of is. We're chatting with each other on the stage. We're chatting to the audience, giving these sort of behind the scenes look stories that are audience appropriate, of course, and giving those folks some things that they wouldn't get anywhere else at any other show, So yeah, it's a great fun. And Lee Shapiro's, he's a cool cat, man.
Yeah. He sure is. What about the players? What about the players?
But let me just tell you. So I've got my hands in so many different things, and most of the time they're able to all exist together. But and sometimes when they can't, I'm so grateful to have you, Mark, to be able to go out and handle that Hitman a Country show expertly as you do. But a couple of years ago, I was in Orlando, and I was doing a show with a Journey tribute band. Now, Joey Belladonna, the lead singer of Anthrax, is the lead singer of this Journey tribute band. And at the time, the rest of the guys were all in Lee Greenwood's touring band. And so I had met Joey Belladonna, and I'll get to the players. I swear I'll bring this around. But I had met Joey Belladonna on a cruise called Shiprocked. It was a heavy metal cruise, and they needed me on the cruise for one song. So, so the guy that hired me, he goes, "Hey, since you're already going to be on the ship, would you mind playing a 30-minute set of Journey tunes for Joey Belladonna?" And I said, "No, of course not, man. I love that stuff." So I met Joey and got to know him, and he kept talking about how he wanted to do this Journey tribute. And so, long story very short, he and I worked together, and I put the band together. But I told him, I said, I need to be in the room, in the pitch, and see how it's received when they go, "Hey, do you want to book a Journey tribute show where the lead singer is Joey Belladonna of Anthrax and the rest of the band is Lee Greenwood's backing band?" And just see that the buyer would go, "Wait, what did you just say to me?" You're like, "What? How is that even possible?" But we were in Orlando doing a show with Joey and that Journey band. And Jeff Coffey, formerly of Chicago, was at the show. And I met Jeff and got to know him a little bit. And Mixtape, my 80s band, played a show in Orlando, a corporate show for Cracker Barrel. And Jeff came out to that and actually came on stage and did a tune. And the place was, there's thousands of people there. They went nuts. So he had this, he's got this band called The Players, and it's him. It's Keith Howland, who played electric for Chicago for years, amazing electric player. Mm-hmm. Bill Champlin, who obviously sang on Look Away, is hit, lead vocal on Look Away, and so many others. Powerhouse, another huge inspiration for me growing up. Bill's vocals and chops, gosh, just so good. And so Bill was going to step away from that project, and Jeff called and said, "Hey, would you want to step in and do that?" And I tell you, I know I didn't replace Bill Champlin. I'm smart enough and fully self-aware to know I did not replace Bill Champlin. But to step into his seat with that band after him stepping out was just, I have goosebumps right now talking about it.
That's great.
And doing some of those lead vocals with those guys and all the key parts and stuff. I'm a huge Chicago fan. Obviously, go right back to David Foster on that. Yeah. But getting to do that catalog of songs with Jeff on the vocals and Keith on guitar and stuff, man, just so much fun.
Doug, Mark and I had 4 hours of meetings in a Cracker Barrel last summer.
I could have hooked you up.
It was one after, and it was with wonderful people, but I haven't been to one since. After 4 hours of me, Mark, I couldn't eat for a week.
Right, we had a couple of meals, a couple of biscuits and gravy, and
Do they have it in Wisconsin? Are there Cracker Barrel in Wisconsin?
Southern Wisconsin, I think we do in Southern Wisconsin. Yeah, I think so. You need to get close to the border of Illinois, but yeah, Mark and I, it worked out really well with our mobile office that we have. But I couldn't eat for a week after we got it, and I couldn't drink coffee for at least 24 hours after that.
But so good. Well, the conference we did for Cracker Barrel down there was like every manager, restaurant manager, and store manager in the country was there, and there was continued education, there were awards, all kinds of stuff, but they were all there. And so we got countless messages afterward. "Hey, I'm from the such and such restaurant in, Roanoke, Virginia. If you're ever through here, meals on me." So we've got all these Cracker Barrel connections with Mixtape when we travel around.
That's awesome. Perfect.
Doug, before we wrap up, I have to ask everyone in the music industry this question. And AI is here. And where do you see it currently in the music industry, and do you view it as a threat to the music industry?
Yeah, boy, it's a crazy time. Um, I was in a session just the other day, a recording session, and the songwriter in the session had plugged his song into an AI program. And he said, all right, there's some things about this I like and some things that I don't. And so we were literally listening, the band was listening to an AI demo
Wow.
to go cut his song to. And I thought, man, that's getting really, really close to me. So yeah, I do think that it can be a threat. Absolutely. I love that he still needed us to cut the song. It didn't quite check all his boxes. But yeah, I really hope that they can get a handle on how this should and shouldn't be used, and before it, takes a toll on anybody.
Yeah. I've heard actually, Mark, that I could cut a song and it would sound good if we plug it into the right AI software.
I was writing with Timothy a couple weeks back, and
he's not going there, Doug.
Oh, what? So I get it. I get it. No, no, dude, you write a good song. You write a good song. Timothy plugged one. We had a write going on, and he asked AI chat GPT or whoever to come up. He's just spat the lyrics in of a chorus, and out comes a chorus. It's crazy.
It is. It's funny. We about a year ago, if that. So remember from the '80s MTV stuff, Max Headroom, and he was performed by a Canadian actor. We had an idea that maybe because with Mixtape we have video content on the screen both before and during the show, and we thought, how cool would it be if we could get Max Headroom to say some cool things about the guys with Mixtape, just some funny things thrown back to the '80s. And we actually, I'm so sorry, the actor's name slips my mind right now, but we actually got in touch with his people and thought, maybe he would do this. Maybe it's just enough of a passion for him that we could pool together some Mixtape '80s money and offer him what we could and have him read, 3 or 4 lines. And we ended up, that didn't happen, but we found a chat or an AI program that we could load some Max Headroom footage into and then type out what we would want Max to say. And we certainly never used it. I mean, it just goes against what I just said, but I thought, man, this is so easy. I'm so scared to think about how this could creep in. I mean, and we wouldn't do that instead of getting him, the actor, to do this. But I feel like a lot of people would.
So it looked good. It looked real.
Yes, it sounded real, and we could, the video of the Max Headroom segments that they played, he was pretty glitchy anyway. So we could dub that over some existing video, and it looked right anyway, because that's the way he sort of looked back on the screen in MTV days. But yeah, it was real easy to do, and I thought, man, this is crazy, but we didn't do it.
So y'all who are watching and commenting, really appreciate it. And just so you know, the replies from Big Timber Entertainment are not AI generated. I am actually typing those in. I'm listening to Doug and prompting this. That, y'all, we've come a long way, Mark, since our first show, when actually I don't think I had my mic plugged in right, and it really didn't go that well, Doug, our first one here. So as we're producing it. So anyway, hey, that's enough about me. Sorry about that. So well, hey, Doug, I really appreciate you joining us. We've taken 1 hour and 4 minutes of your time here, and
gosh, it's flown by.
That's
It
awesome.
really has flown by, and I really look forward to talking with you again. And it'd be great if you could come on a show again sometime.
Oh, anytime. I'd love to. Thank you.
And would love to meet you in person too. I get down by Mark. He's actually if you're looking at the screen, it's our left and his right is where my hotel room is. And appreciate that, brother. All the
You're welcome.
recommendations always.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it would be great to get together sometime, Doug. I'd enjoy that.
Likewise, as I told you today on the phone, Mark and I still haven't met in person. It's funny as often as we've worked kind of together, to make sure that the Hitting in a Country shows go off like they need to. We have yet to sit down and have that face-to-face cup of coffee, but it's coming, brother.
Doug, what's going to outdo that is when we sit down with a couple of keyboards and get a chance to just see what happens, huh?
Oh my gosh.
I'd love to be there when you guys do that. That's for sure. So
call that 88 squared.
There you go. There you go.
I want to give a shout out to Mary, our best fan that we have here. Jeff Thompson has been on, and Jeff and Isabella. So it sounds like you all know each other pretty good. Like there may be a little familial connection here. Jordan,
absolutely.
Thanks so much. And Penny, Jody, I don't know that I missed anybody. If I did, I apologize, and always try to give everyone a shout out here.
Nice.
So Doug, thanks again. Y'all, you can Mark, we have a show again next Wednesday.
We do. We're gonna have Dave Northrup's on next Wednesday.
Oh my gosh. Buckle up.
We're bringing Big Daddy on here.
Oh.
And we're going to do it again.
5-second delay? Are you on a 5-second delay?
Yeah, right.
We don't care. Yeah, we just it can roll. We don't care.
Oh my gosh.
And then actually, I think Mark, in 2 weeks, you and I are going to be at CRS, and we'll try to get on at some time, just live stream right from the show. Mark, maybe you can give a little background here on what CRS is and where we're going to be there.
Right. Well, it's February 19, 20, and 21, but the 19th and the 20th, Troy and I will be at the Omni. CRS's country radio seminar, and every radio station in the U.S. will be here and represented, along with all over the world, stations all over the world, label people, agents. It's going to be a massive humanity, and Troy and I we'll do a bunch of live streaming from the middle of it, and just do little short bursts from the middle of it so you can see what's going on, and we'll keep everybody posted. But we're looking forward to it very much. Doug, I'm looking forward to not having to play. I'll just be in the middle of it. That sounds just promoting. We're going to be just promoting and getting to know a bunch of people and sharing the love.
Wonderful. Nothing better.
Yeah.
And y'all, you can see Mark's Big Timber sweatshirt. If you would like a sweatshirt, you can get it at bigtimberentertainment.com. We'll mail it out, get it out to you. There is a charge, except for Doug. Doug, you end up getting a T-shirt for being a guest on the show.
Oh,
isn't
thank
that
you so much?
Yeah, so
I'll wear it proudly.
Just text me what size you would like and where to mail it to, and my mailing department gets that out. It happens to be Judy, my wife. Shout out to Judy. So I do pull it out of the inventory, but she drops it in the mail. So awesome. Yeah, just text that over to me. But anyway, Doug, any parting words of wisdom?
Hey, just had a wonderful time with you guys, and would do it anytime you ask. And for all those listening, whether it's live or later, come to leegreenwood.com or mixtape80sband.com, or to my Facebook page, and we'll see where we are on the road. I'm always posting pictures out there, and it's just always a blast.
Nice.
That's so nice. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for joining in. Love each and every one of you. Your support of the music industry is so much appreciated. And until next week, have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.